Boxing King Media in association with Boxro. The man himself, Gareth Davies. Gareth, we've just seen the press conference. Anthony Joshua, Jermaine Franklin, AJ's back. Feels like it's been a long, long time. What did you think to the things he said in the press conference today?
Well, he's very clearly come to terms with Road to Undisputed not going exactly the way he wanted it. He's managed to shift his mentality towards a new narrative, a new journey. I think the shackles are off. I felt that after the Usyk fight in Jeddah last year. We were both out there, weren't we? And that it's just thrown something off him. There's a kind of pressure that's lifted. I liked the relationship he seems to have with Derek James. I liked his honesty about, listen, I'm a prize fighter. It's fucking money. He said, all the rest is bullshit. It's just fights. I get that. I suspect it's not too long left for him, you know? Maybe 3 or 4 more fights. I think that'll be it for AJ. I don't think he'll go on and on and on. He's so wealthy, I believe. He said, but for me, he looked well. He sounded well. I got a couple of minutes on my own with him as well. Seemed really well to me.
What did you make of the moment where he kind of just flipped? He was talking away and then went, right, fuck this bullshit, I'm here to fucking fight. I quite like that because that's the kind of killer instinct people like. But obviously there's fans out there who will say, well, why is he swearing now? He never used to swear before. But it's good to see that side of him because it shows he's a real person at the end of the day.
It's funny, you know, because when I was talking to Derek James, I said, have you walked down the street with him in the UK yet? And he said, no, not yet. And I said, well, I think this is a fine analogy. Anthony Joshua is as well known in the UK as Mike Tyson was in America. There's very few people who don't know who Anthony Joshua is. He won super heavyweight gold at the London Olympics in 2012. And he's been a two-time world champion. He's transformed boxing in this country in lots of ways. He's brought a huge deluge of interest to the sport. And I don't think he cares as much about what people think of him as we think he thinks. I think he's happy with himself. I think he's come to terms with things that he's not going to beat Usyk. He probably won't ever fight him again. And he's just settled himself on wanting to look spectacular against Jermaine Franklin, who's much lighter, by the way, when we saw him against Dillian Whyte. Definitely looks a lot lighter, maybe even a stone lighter. And just wants those last 3-4 fights. Dillian Whyte, Jermaine Franklin, Tyson Fury. We've got to see that fight. Him and Tyson Fury is so big. And maybe him and Joe Joyce or him and Deontay Wilder. That's it. I don't think he has to do any more after that. And if he wins 30 and he loses 5 or whatever it is, the guy's just earned 80 million for 2 losses in the last 2 years. He's extraordinarily successful, and maybe he doesn't believe, like lots of massive overachievers, that from the inside out, it just is what it is. And like he said today, I'll tell you one of the significant things he said, I've just remembered it. No one's going to remember me when I'm gone. That is a good mindset. That's a great mindset to have, because it's about living now then. That's the most significant thing for me today about AJ. No one's going to remember me when I'm gone. Brilliant mindset.
Do you not think as a fighter, though, when you try and build a legacy, you'd want to be remembered? Because people talk about Ali, even now, Pacquiao, Mayweather. Surely he wants that.
He will be remembered. He hasn't quite finished what he's going to do yet. But it's that mentality shows he's coming to terms with a loss. Derek James, with his fighters, often doesn't see a loss as a loss. He sees it as a learn. That's his mentality as well. No, I think he's in a great place. I think that knowing that mindset, and he doesn't seem to be pushing that mindset out as something fake. I think he's there. So whatever he does now, he does. He's extraordinarily wealthy. He's got legacy-defining money for his family. I don't think he's realised as well. He's a young man, isn't he? Boxing will not define his whole life, and I think he's realised that. He's so blessed. Look what he's achieved already. He set out for this at 18. So I think I'm glad he's celebrating his own success. Very, very interesting. He's always interesting. I've been around him since probably about 2010, I think. Yeah, about 2010. He came to an awards ceremony for the Daily Telegraph, actually. I used to run the School Sports Matters Awards. And he presented an award to a tiny little gymnast who was about 4'10". I remember the photograph in the paper the next day, a big double-page spread. It was at Twickenham. He came to Twickenham for nothing. Just came and presented the awards. Came with a guy from Lee from British Boxing. Gave his time that day. Look how he's grown. I mean, it's extraordinary. He just won the silver medal at the Worlds. It was 2011. It must have been, and But it's a great journey to follow. We're so critical of him. Our expectation levels are so high.
That's just the British culture, though, isn't it? We do that with the football. We do that in almost every sport, especially with the big names.
Yeah, and he's a mainstream name. He's not a boxing name. He's not an insider name. He gets a hard time from the boxing diehards. There's no question this guy gives everything. He's living monastically in Dallas, Texas, right now.
What word was that?
Monastically.
Never heard that before.
But monastery?
All right.
No, I'm not going to give you an English lesson. He's living like a monk.
Okay.
He's living like a monk. He detailed his program. They didn't go around. He's not walking around, partying, going to clubs and picking up girls and drinking. He's training. He's in camp. It's a fascinating journey. Like you say, he's a mainstream star. And give me 3 examples of things he's done wrong in the last decade.
He's done wrong. What the public may perceive wrong. To be honest, I can only think of that one incident post Usyk second fight when he threw the belts out. Other than that, I'd say he's been quite a clean-cut, good role model for British boxing fans.
There was the incident in Watford at the rally where he'd read out a piece of paper and there were accusations that he was, kind of being racist. And he's not. He's not. He's a great guy. He's brilliant to be around. He's also in touch with his heritage. He knows he's a British Nigerian. He's been brought up in that African way. I've spoken to him about Nigeria. My parents used to live there, and I went out there many times when I was a teenager. And there is a different way. He's a great guy. He's brilliant for the sport. I wish him well in his next 3 or 4 fights because he won't be around forever. Let's make the most of him. On that note.
Yeah, I was going to say on that note, I 100% agree with that. I just want to quickly get your opinion on a quick minute on the whole Dazn price change. There's a lot of criticism that's been coming online. One of the biggest things is people talking about the options for sports. If you go with BT and Sky, you obviously get like football, UFC, rugby, etc. I saw a tweet the other day saying that with Dazn, you're just getting chess and NFL, which doesn't appeal to British boxing fans.
So what's the question?
The question is, what do you make of the price point and the fact that people are kind of comparing all the main sports channels?
Well, I'll keep it simple. Prices rise, politicians will philander.
Should we blame the Tories?
And our knees get weaker. No, yeah, blame the Tories. Let's not make this political, yeah? Even though it always is. The price rises were inevitable. It's a stealth tax on sports fans. It's weird that it's come at the same time that Anthony Joshua is just about to fight. And it's just unfortunate. I mean, that's what's going to happen. We're quite lucky in this country that there aren't huge hikes for pay-per-view. I think the bigger issue right now is how we stop the blurring of the lines between what is, for example, the Misfits on Dazn and what is real boxing on Dazn. We need to keep that line properly delineated. So it's one of those inevitable things, that they are going to have to pay for these Canelo fights and the Anthony Joshua fights. The prices have been rising since it was $199 at the beginning, wasn't it? It's gone up a lot though. It's like 3 times, isn't it, per month? But I think if you go for the year, it's 100. But you don't know yet if you're going to have to pay pay-per-view on top. It's all taxes. They're all taxes on us, I mean, I don't agree with it, but I think it was inevitable. They're never going to give you that forever, and that's what they're going to do. I don't agree with it, but I've got to pay for it. It's what I do. I think we've all got to pay for it.
Definitely put it off on the tax bill. Gareth A. Davies, appreciate your time as always. Thank you very much, brother.